What the hell? Damn it, dude!
What? I thought you were in on it.
Apparently not.
What did he send you?
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Legend Hunters podcast, where some questions are asked and yet never answered.
No, sorry, Legend. This is not the podcast.
Oh, is that
This
not
is a very
so?
special day for a lot of us Pokemon
This
fans.
is the Pokecast.
Yes, this
Oh.
it is a special occasion for many of us who have been playing. Is the time that Gen 2 has been re-released amongst us to make us feel old again and revisit nostalgia in glorious ways.
No.
Isn't the point to make us feel young again because we're playing something from our childhoods?
Here's a fun thing. Legend, Leo, and I all became friends when Gen 4 came out.
I thought we were talking about Gen 2, though.
I know, I'm just going to quickly say this. There are people in high school now that this first Pokemon game was Gen 4.
I feel old!
Dude,
But
you
since-
feel old? I just turned 31 recently. What the heck are you talking about?
Oh, God. Oh, God.
We're having quarter life crises.
Why
Yeah,
don't we
I was
go ahead
14
and...
when I got into this fucking series.
Actually, Zero, to be fair, that's actually being a thing right now. There are sociologists who are studying what's going on with our generation, and they're actually calling it a quarter-life crisis.
God damn it.
Oh my god.
But socio-political economics aside, we're here to go ahead and talk about Generation 2 to celebrate the release of Gold and Silver on the
3DS.
Virtual Console. And before we go into this, Kari, would you like to share the news that was recently shared amongst the internet?
I honestly do not know.
The one that you sent me regarding the third version.
Oh yes, there's a possibility that Pokemon Crystal might be released on Virtual Console, but not on the 3DS.
Ooh.
I'm sorry?
On the Switch.
Oh.
Are you serious?
There is possibility that we might be getting it on the Switch, and honestly, that sounds like a deal for me.
Nintendo!
If it's going to be on the Switch, then there's a possibility they might actually put some software to allow you to trade between Switch and NES and 3DS games.
Oh yes.
Oh. Well, they gotta basically put Pokemon Bank on the Switch.
I mean, that would probably... Didn't they have something like that for the Wii a while back, or the GameCube?
They had Pokemon Channel, I think it was, or something.
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
Yeah. There were...
Because there were like some special Pokemon that you could only get from there, like Celebi and Jirachi.
Yeah, like, we may be Pokemon gurus, me, Legend, and Leo, but even we don't know everything about the Pokemon world.
Right. And some of the history is a little bit muddled, although you can find some lore out there. You can find some good tidbits out there, like fucking Pimp Knight got himself a copy, got a 2013 distribution cartridge for Shiny Dialga.
Really?
Yeah, and he actually hacked a bunch into his game. Well, not hacked, but as much gave himself the Pokemon legitimately by doing clock turning mechanics, and then uploaded them to current day, and then started distributing them on one of his newer streams.
Really?
Mm-hmm. So those chips apparently, the distribution cards still apparently exist, and they can be found.
Wow.
Alright. But enough joking aside, we're here to talk about Generation 2. And so, some quick caveats for our listeners out there. We are talking exclusively about Generation 2 games. We are not going to be going into Heart Gold and Soul Silver.
Damn it.
Because they made a bunch of changes between the two generations.
Alright.
Yeah,
We'll
that's...
be talking about Gold, Silver, and Crystal, simply because all three of them do exist. Although we will be very lightly going into Crystal because mostly it's Gold and Silver.
Yeah.
But I do have one question that just came to mind since we are talking about all three games, and that is the fact that in Crystal, it was the first time that the choice to be a female character was ever brought up.
It was.
Although
Yes, it was.
technically, they did have plans for it in the original games.
But it fell through.
Yeah.
That's like most things.
Yeah.
I would ask Muzi about this, but unfortunately she's on vacation right now.
Yeah, she flew all the way to Maine to be with family, so...
Shout out to you, Moosey. And we're looking forward to having you back with us.
But not really.
Yeah. Hey now. So we will get some of her opinions on the next podcast when we get the chance to. But for now, we will go ahead and start it off with first question for our gold and silver anniversary PokeCast is, what did you guys get? What are you, gold or silver? Which game did you get, or which is your favorite? If you got
Alright.
both or neither.
Because I'm a fucking rich bastard, I got both gold and silver as a kid, and even got crystal.
Well, but which one are you playing right now, Zero?
I'm playing silver right now because Lugia is number 1.
Alright.
Yes, me.
Alright.
The movie was number 2. 1,000.
Ow, my soul.
Did you know that Vikings are from Minnesota?
God damn it.
Fuck the dub.
It's a lot better than it could have been. Trust me.
Uh,
Okay, since no one asked me, I'll go ahead and say mine.
I was gonna move to Legend next.
Yes, I did not get gold or silver, I got crystal. And this was while I was still playing through yellow, so I was actually very hesitant to actually play it. Because I thought, oh my goodness, it's the second generation of Pokemon, I haven't beaten the first, I want to do this chronologically. I never beat yellow, but I did actually manage to make it to red in crystal as a kid.
Congrats.
With one Pokemon.
You know what? Nope. I did the same thing.
Yeah.
I did the fucking same thing.
We were not very great trainers back in the day. We were very, how to say,
Passionate?
determined.
Single-minded.
Yeah.
What's up?
Single-minded.
Single-minded.
Single Pokemon.
Alright.
Alright, what about,
Curry?
what do you guys?
I remember my first game was silver. I never got crystal or gold until I was much, much older, but silver was the one I remember playing the most out of until the battery died.
Oh.
And I lost everything.
Oh no!
It was battery corrosion, wasn't it?
No, it was an old game.
Oh, then the battery just dried
I
out.
played it too much.
Okay.
So I killed the battery. Surprisingly enough, my previous gen games are still alive.
Yeah, after that, they made some adjustments in Generation 3, so that way, even though the battery would dry out, it would only affect the clock, but you could still play the game normally.
I think it was the fact that there's a thing going around with the day and night implement kind of what kills the battery a little bit quicker.
Ah, I see.
That's what I heard it was. But recently, a couple years ago, I did put a new battery in my old copy of Silver, and it's working as new again. So I'm happy with that.
I should look into that because my brother was playing the old games for a while on my old Game Boy, and he was doing the same thing.
It's actually pretty. If you look on YouTube, there's actually easy ways to replace the battery.
All
So
right.
yeah, Silver is still my favorite of the three because I never got to play Crystal, like I said, until later. So yeah, Silver all the way.
What were you gonna say, Zero?
I was going to say that I recently, like about a year ago, I got a copy of Emerald not that long ago. I didn't find out till later that it was bootlegged, and the battery and it died, and it reset my game.
Oh.
It
Yeah, you gotta be careful with the bootlegs.
Yeah.
I started off with gold because Ho-Oh number 1. But I actually didn't beat the game until Crystal. I don't know whether it was just my team composition or whether it was I finally grinded enough. But yeah, I think Crystal's the one that made the impact for me, just because I think the legendary fit better on my team, and I was able to leverage that to my advantage.
Alrighty.
So yeah, I think that's where I'm started. I would really like to see a Crystal game, but we'll see how that comes.
Alright,
So,
now I'm going to ask you the question now.
Okay.
And it's going to kind of be like a softball question here.
I mean, I can imagine.
What was your starter?
Oh, let me get the food out of my mouth first.
It was Meganium, wasn't it?
No, it was Cyndaquil.
Of course.
Of course.
Fire guy over here.
Which I found out this recently. Typhlosion is supposed to be related to the honey badger.
No wonder it gives no fucks.
Well, it's kind of funny because it learns the move Eruption.
Yeah, that's later on though, right?
Well, that's a Gen 4 reference, but yeah, I think it's actually kind of fitting either way.
Well, it starts off as a
It's also called the Volcano Pokemon.
Mm-hmm. It starts off as a fire porcupine, and then it becomes into a fire badger.
It goes from porcupine, weasel to badger.
Badger.
Alright, hold off before we make drug references.
Alright, what about you, Meme Zero?
Oh,
You asked for it.
Totodile. Although I actually have used every single starter, every single version I actually used a different starter.
Alright.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so that was.
But you like Totodile the most?
Yeah, pretty much. I love the little happy dancing gator.
Alright.
But isn't that like the antithesis of your existence?
It's a badass fucking alligator.
Again, I'll have to agree with that.
Your argument isn't valid, Leo.
I have a honey badger who can shoot fire.
Out of his manly ass shoulders.
By the way, and
What?
this is the reason why I love Typhlosion even more, he can learn Thunder Punch.
He can throw a lightning.
Can Feraligatr learn Ice Punch?
Yes,
Right.
he can, but the thing that makes it notable for Typhlosion is because that directly counters for Alligator.
Though Feraligatr has STB-AB on its side, so it's always been a toss-up between the two.
Well, remember that this is the game we're still in Generation 2, which means that types are still split by physical and special exclusively. Fire, water, and electric are all considered special attacks.
Which
Ice is
means,
considered
yes.
physical.
Yeah, you're right. Typhlosion would have a stronger special attack. I'll give you that.
Over for Alligator. But
And keep in mind, back then, I don't know if this is still the case now, but didn't Typhlosion have the exact same stats as Charizard?
Yes, that's correct. I think they tweaked it somewhere down the road.
I think the specials kind of got mixed around.
They did. Originally in Gen 1, the special stat was a single stat, which governed both attack and defense.
That didn't happen
That got
until...
kind of confusing.
They eventually, in Gen 2, split that into special attack and special defense.
Mm-hmm.
And so made the Pokemon actually have different special attacks, special defense, etc., etc.
Yeah, but they into Gen 2 Typhlosion had the exact same stats. I think that's changed since then. I am not entirely sure.
I don't think so. I think they still have like equivalent stats, but considering the fact that Charizard has the flying type,
And
different
can Mega
moveset,
Evolve.
they are in different tiers.
Well, we don't know. Maybe we'll get a Mega Evolution pretty soon for the...
We can only hope.
Yes.
Akari, how about you?
Your starter.
Who's it?
Legend, your starter.
I'm gonna
When
wait.
you play the games.
I'm gonna wait on this one.
Okay.
Akari?
All right.
Mine's gonna be the same as Zero's. I am
Woo!
mostly a Totodile guy. It's just the fact I tried Chikorita at first, and the minute I learned I got my ass kicked by the first two gym leaders, I'm like, this does not bode well, because I'm using a Pokemon that's weak against these two. I'm like, nope, restart it, went through Totodile, mopped the floor with everyone else just like that.
To be fair, had you gone past it, the rest of the game would have been moderately okay for you.
Well, I was much younger. I didn't know that. So
Yeah, the problem
To
with
be fair, that's true.
the problem with Chikorita and eventually Meganium is that they're all bulk, no power.
Mhm.
But they did come with Body Slam, which was their one selling point.
Fucking paralysis.
Fucking paralysis.
Remember in our first video, Missing No's Law, whatever stat effect can happen in a Pokemon game.
Will always happen to you and never happen to them.
exactly.
Claire is a good example of that.
Yeah,
We'll
get
get
down
to
there.
that.
We will.
We'll get to that.
Yeah.
Alright, Legend.
Let's see.
Okay,
Legend.
we are
Still haven't
still
answered.
missing me. Before I name it, though, I want you all to try guessing what my favorite is.
Cynical.
Any other takers?
I'm going to say Cyndaquil too.
Oh, I know this. Oh, I know this.
Actually-
Wait, I know the answer.
Wait,
to
I remember the answer. I remember the answer.
It was none of them.
Kari, what about you?
I said Totodile.
Ah, you said Totodile. You both, these two chuckleheads had it right. I loved Cyndaquil as it was the first starter that I worked with, but it was not the starter that I beat the game with. That would actually be Totodile. Because of a very, very dumb reason. Because I was a kid, and because I was doing a single starter run, essentially, because I didn't know better, I picked Typhlosion and was unable to use Waterfall.
You were stuck using the single player. You're still doing the single Pokemon. No one else on your team, basically.
No one else on the team who could actually do anything. And when I got to the Waterfall part, I couldn't do anything.
You derped at Victory Road.
I derped. I couldn't even get to Victory
no,
Road.
He derped at Tojo Falls.
Yeah, pretty much.
So you were trapped in Lavender Tower. You got stuck at Tojo Falls. Next thing you're telling me you were standing outside Sudopolis because you didn't know how to get in.
Oh no, I actually did figure that one out.
Okay, but it seems to be a running theme for you.
Though to also be fair, and also kind of funny, I do always get lost in Sutopolis City.
Oh god.
Legend! Master of Misdirection!
Misdirecting himself, you mean?
Master of no direction. All right. Next question is more generalized. Who was your favorite of the new Generation 2 Pokemon?
Ooh.
This one was a little bit hard for me, but at the same time, really easy.
This one is too easy for me.
Okay. Zero, you go first then.
I'm grabbing it right now.
Oh God, I think he's bringing one of the members of his army.
Nee! Umbreon! The plushie that Legend gave me last Christmas.
Yay!
Huzzah!
I love Umbreon.
What's his name?
He doesn't have a name, it's just Umbreon.
You need to name him.
I have Grumpy Eevee. This is Stoic Umbreon.
There needs to be a campaign to name all of your evolutions.
We'll figure that out later. But yeah, Umbreon's my favorite. I love the colors. I love the aesthetic. And also the fact that it was one of the evolutions that it was just a new evolution. I was like, really? They're adding more evolutions to this guy.
And one of them was dark and glowy.
And it was the new typing as well. So I'm like, yep, you're mine. So
Suddenly imagining Bayonetta with an Umbreon between her boobs. That's a fantastic image for your artist to think about.
and Zero is now wishing to be that Umbreon.
Shut up. I have an
To be fair,
Umbreon
I would
on my head.
also like to be that Umbreon. So there's that. Okay, Akari, what about you?
This might be surprising for you guys, but my favorite Pokemon of Gen 2 is probably almost everyone's favorite from what I've seen in every single Let's Play, and that is Tyranitar.
Damn it! You picked mine!
Two for the price of one.
The look of this guy. I mean, he goes from a cute little bug looking little critter, and then he goes into the people stage, and he comes out. He's like this big old badass. And I don't know what I would do without this guy. I mean, he helped me when helped me take on Red near the end of the game, and I just can't help. I can't think of a Pokemon that's more just ferocious looking than this.
Truth be
Yeah,
told,
it's hard to beat the living embodiment of it's hard to beat the living embodiment of Godzilla.
Basically,
know.
yeah.
I have Godzilla in my pocket.
and it literally,
Victory is achieved.
And if you make it mad, it literally will change
there, because there's been a trend recently amongst Asian men to start calling their Wang dragons. So you saying that you have Godzilla in your pocket could be taken as a euphemism.
Well, if my euphemism is referring to Tyranitar, it's quite the self-complimentary thing I could be saying.
Self-gratification, wank, 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 wank.
What were you saying, Nero?
I was trying to say, I didn't actually know what Larvitar actually became back in the day.
Yeah,
So-
because it was one of those Pokemon that you wouldn't find until the very end, which really frustrated me. They did that with Slugma, which, to be fair, no one cares about Slugma.
Yeah.
And they did that to Houndour, which I was really upset with.
Yeah, so I was like, what is this Pokemon? Because I never had guides for the early games back in the day until like Gen 3.
If I had a guide, I would have been a better Pokemon player.
But I was like, what is this Pokemon? It's so small and tiny. This thing's got to evolve into something. So I trained it and it became a pupa, a Pupitar. Okay, larva, pupa. Okay, and then this is kind of like a bug Pokemon. It's got a final stage.
Level 55 comes around.
That was taking me forever for some goddamn reason back in the day. And I'm like, holy shit, I like you. I like you very much. You're on my team.
Again, the idea of Godzilla in your pocket is very appealing.
Yeah, so
But,
Tyranitar's my second.
my favorite Generation 2 Pokemon is actually for a rather novel reason, and that's Donphan.
Donphan.
Donphan!
Oh, from the first Pokemon movie, right?
Yes, the elephant.
Yeah, from the...
The elephant rhino.
And we all had no idea what the hell that thing was.
Yeah.
But the main reason I like Donphan a lot is mainly because of the fact that I found out that in Pokemon Stadium 2, there was an entire mini game where you basically were rolling around as a Phanpy or a Donphan.
Oh, I think I remember that. God damn it.
Yeah, so that was the game that I saw that mini game and was like, okay, I need to find this Pokemon and I need to race with it. And so there was nothing more special to me than finding and capturing one of these rhino elephants and getting it to race like Sonic.
Alright then, so...
That's fantastic.
Now, since we're going from favorite Pokemon, let's go to favorite legendary. So...
Murray, would you like to do the honors?
This is gonna be, obviously, because I played Silver so much, I gotta go with Lugia. And also the fact of the Pokemon 2000 movie. I just love the mythology and the look of this Pokemon. And to think that despite it coming out of the water, it's a psychic flying, which was rare at the time. We'd never seen something like that before.
To this day, everyone still thinks that it's a water type.
And that always
It is
fucks up
not.
people's teams when they fight against it.
Yep.
Yep.
it's
But
the,
currently, in my mind, Lugia will always be the biggest pain in the ass for me in Pokemon Go. That's what I'll best remember for right now.
Alright, Leo, favorite legendary.
If you were guessing Ho, you are entirely incorrect. I actually kind of did not like the bird Pokemon.
Oh,
Because remember, I started with Gold, and I got Typhlosion. Why the fuck would I put 2 fire types on my team?
Because you're the
Because-
fire guy?
No. I may be a fire guy, but I never break the cardinal rule, which is never double up on weaknesses.
oh shit.
So, but I do have a favorite Pokemon, and it is a fire type. It's Entei.
Yeah, I was gonna say Entei.
Yeah, I was thinking that myself, but if it's not Ho, it's gotta be Entei.
To be fair, Entei was the first legendary I caught.
Yeah, actually, Entei was the first roaming legendary I encountered.
Same?
Yeah, he usually is for the most part. I don't know whether it's a sequential thing, or whether it just so happened that most people usually find Entei first off.
Yeah.
And I've always liked Entei. I've always liked this thing even before it got its own movie. And to be fair, it was a very bad movie. Like, that movie did no saving graces for that Pokemon.
Really? Because a lot of people...
Honestly, I thought the third one was the best of the movies, personally.
A lot of people
honestly,
like 3.
It was too overdramatic. I thought the unknown thing was kind of like, of all the Pokemon to use, you had to use the unknown. Honestly, I thought that 1 and 2 were just superior overall. I did not like 3. I think they shoehorned some elements in and just, like, we're going to have to say that for another review, but basically, like, between the 3, the one that I have the most questions about is that one.
I'm just going to go ahead and say this. My least favorite Pokemon movie that I have seen so far is 4, ever.
Because the pun game just happens to be so on point.
No, it's the fact that the plot is complete arschlock. Anyway, Legend, your favorite legendary.
Mine is a story.
Oh, God.
So,
Okay.
I surprisingly, this was my favorite legendary, but it is also the legendary I hate the most. I can both love and despise this thing at the same time, especially because of the story I am going to share with you all.
Okay.
This was around the time I started calling myself a legend hunter, because I was determined to catch these Roman legendaries if it was going to be the last thing I do as a Pokemon trainer.
Ladies and gentlemen, the origin of the Legend Hunters.
Hello. Okay, so I have gone after these 2 legendaries, and I found both Raikou and Entei in Crystal, and I'm determined to catch them. But Raikou is giving me the slip every single time. I can't pin it down, and in some cases, it's outrunning some of the members of my team. I don't want to kill it, so I can't use Feraligatr. So I'm here in a very, very big quandary. But I think, wait a minute, I've got a Master Ball. Here's what I'll do. Since I know for a fact that Entei has Fire Spin, I will catch Entei in the Master Ball and use Fire Spin on Raikou next time I see it so that we can catch it. I succeeded in capturing Entei, which was a major achievement for me. Like, oh my god, I got this thing. And then I go after Raikou. I catch Raikou in the Fire Spin.
And it runs away.
And it roars.
Oh no.
And that was when I decided not to go after Raikou, and I fell in love with it because I could never get it. And to this day, that story has haunted me, to the point where when I finally did catch Raikou in Colosseum, I felt fulfilled. And it is also worth mentioning that, unfortunately I will be mentioning Heart Gold, but the remix that this fucker got in Heart Gold and Soul Silver is legendary. My god, it's so good.
Alright then, so I guess it's now finally my turn.
Fire away.
Do we need to? We already said it at the start.
No, it's not. Lugia is not my favorite legendary.
No. That is a shock.
Suicune is. Here's the reason why. I love the design of it. Pure and simple.
It is definitely a very, very snazzy looking Pokemon.
When I first saw it in the anime, when it was the start of the Johto, I was like, what the fuck are you?
I want you in my pocket.
Because I think this was before I got Crystal at all, and I was like, when I saw the Suicune on the cover of Crystal, I was like, holy shit, they made a third game, and this is the actual flagship monster for it. And I'm like, I need this game. And then I saw the opening credits for it, which was different than Gold or Silver, and I'm like, this is beautiful. This is an amazing... I love the opening cutscene for Crystal. It's amazing, and I was like, you will be mine. So yeah, pure and simple, love the aesthetic of Suicune. My favorite dog legendary, hamster legendary, whatever the fuck it is. Because seriously, Raikou looks like a fucking cat. That's no way it's a dog. So, I don't know what the fuck they are. They're dogs, cats. I'm going to go with Chococonroy and call them hamsters.
I think Suicune's the only one that's more dog-like. I think because I know Entei is supposed to be a food dog, so lion dog.
Yeah.
Raikou is definitely more of a tiger spirit.
Yeah.
So really, Suicune's the only one who can be called a dog in any closer sense of the word.
Hey, do you think that Raikou could actually be a alternate interpretation of a Nue?
Possibly. I was thinking because there's also another spirit called a Raiju, which is basically the sounds of thunder.
Ah, yes.
Raiju, Raikou.
Yep.
Makes sense.
So there's a lot of different interpretations that's better saved for someone like Gaijin Goomba.
Aye.
Yeah. Anyway, so...
Next one. All right. So this one might be a little bit harder because you don't think of it this way. But I want to hear everyone's least favorite or most despised Pokemon.
I'd like to fire first,
Generation
please.
2.
This is an easy one for me too.
Legend,
Okay.
go first.
All right. Everybody, let us all simultaneously raise our spritzers and tell this stupid wannabe tree to fuck off.
Oh, okay. I
Sudowoodo.
thought you were going somewhere else with this.
Oh no, I despise Sudowoodo for numerous reasons.
Well, then you don't take your squirt gun to it, you just drop trow and take a piss on it.
Oh, I would if it wasn't going to smack me in the nuts for doing that. I lost teams to that thing. Teams!
True story, I got walled by... After the fact that I was getting walled by Whitney after beating her, I could not get past that effing Sudowoodo until I eventually wandered around Goldenrod City and found someone who would give me the squirt bottle.
By the way, funny, I was kind of retarded. Even though I had the squirt bottle, I had no idea what to do with it. I was walled off by that fucking tree forever.
I'm not the only one!
There is a lot of things that really, going back to Gen 2, they did not explain well. Like, when you go back in Gen 4 and you see the sequence where you meet Silver and he drops his card and says, "Oh no, you saw my real name. Don't tell anyone." And then you have to go name him later on. They clarified that specifically so that when you meet him because when you meet him in Generation 2, it just says question mark, and it doesn't click that you're supposed to fill out his name.
So I actually put question mark. My gosh.
All three of us have done that.
Akari, did you do that?
Not that I remember. It's like I said, it's been a long time.
Okay, but yeah, that was a thing. So I can definitely understand people they had to make some clarifications later on.
I do also want to note that Sudowoodo also had a pretty low catch rate and a decently high enough attack that it could actually put my party into danger.
Fuck Flail. Fuck Flail.
Yeah, and it had Flail because it wasn't evil enough as it was.
The lower HP you have, the higher damage Flail does.
Yeah, so here I am trying to weaken this thing so I can catch it because it's a really weird and unique looking Pokemon.
And there's only one in the game.
And it's killing me every time I fail to catch it in a Pokeball. Every single time. And on top of all that, the moment I actually did catch Sudowoodo and I was like, "Oh, buddy, you better be worth the trouble," I found out it sucked.
Yeah.
May Sudowoodo burn in hell for what it put me through.
Yeah.
All right. Akari, you want to take this one next?
Okay, I'm gonna be where my least favorite Pokemon is unknown.
I am with you in this.
That is very fair. I would not blame you for saying that one.
I was fascinated by it.
It's just a fucking alphabet soup letter!
No. Akari, I'm going to make everyone... Watch me make everyone cringe right now. Unknowns were the original emoji.
It's just... They're just flying alphabet soup letters. They can only learn, one move.
That move is hidden power!
I gotta admit, I was at least fascinated by the concept of them at first. the fact that they were supposed to be like an ancient language of sorts. Because I'll be honest, I was so dyslexic I couldn't actually tell what some of the shapes were when I first saw them.
And good luck telling now.
Yeah, and I'm just going to say this. I was the sad bastard who actually captured every single unknown.
Oh, I did it too.
It's much worse than Pokemon Go. Way worse.
Yeah. And yeah, the unknown, they were really, really hyped up in the third movie, which made it very, very disappointing to go into the ruins, pick these things up thinking they were godly, and then learning the sad truth.
The ruins still fascinate me to this day, to be honest.
And the mystique of them is not lost on me.
And
but the Pokemon themselves...
Yeah.
They suck.
And the music that plays when you have the radio on is creepypasta material.
Yes, it is.
Oh yeah.
Refer to our Lost
right?
Silver episode if
Yep.
you guys want to.
Yep.
Hashtag plug.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well,
so much memory.
I have mentioned before that I know the guy who made the Lost Silver ROM hack. He went to my college.
Yes, you did.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He actually made the legitimate ROM hack version of it. That's the footage that you're seeing in that video.
Can't get much fresher than that.
I noticed that we're actually going through quite a lot of detail about the Pokemon we despise, surprisingly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
because they stick out as much as the ones we love.
yeah.
Zero, your turn.
Mine, I actually kind of have a tie of two.
Fire away.
First off, Dunsparce. Or Derpsparce.
That thing needs a Mega Evolution stat!
Either a Mega Evolution or an actual fucking evolution.
It needs to be the Karibo of the Pokemon games.
Because here's the thing, I kind of like how it looks. I do. It looks like something that's supposed to become something grand and majestic.
No. It's Legend. It is the pendant of the Pokemon universe.
It's the thing that everyone finds and it takes forever to find, but it does nothing!
Yep.
It's the pendant.
Yep.
Yes.
That's my first one. My second one is a tie between 3 or 4, depending.
You
Oh,
have
come on.
3 or 4?
You get one more. You get one more.
One more.
The babies.
All right. Okay. I will allow that as a group.
Fuck the
You
baby.
do?
The baby evolutions are pointless.
Because you don't find them in the wild.
Yeah, they only exist to use a breeding mechanic.
To justify the breeding
Yeah.
mechanic.
When they were first introduced, that's the only reason they were ever justified. Nowadays, they're pointless.
Yeah, I mean, the sad thing is, it's not like you can even find baby Pokemon. And it doesn't really enhance the growth into the overall evolution.
Yeah, pretty much.
Quite
So,
the opposite, I
if
think.
they had more, like, if they had more unique egg moves, or they had more unique, like, say, moves you can only learn as a Pichu, Mag Baby, etc.
Magby,
That might-
Smoochum, and Elekid.
There you go. If that would work out, then I think that would have been a slightly different.
Yeah.
But even then, I would say that the baby Pokemon could have functioned even without that, because you could still say, you could still function without the baby Pokemon. Excuse me, let me clarify. Just because of the fact that you could put these egg moves on the parents.
Yeah?
Right. But they would only transfer into the baby versions, and then you'd have a reason for them.
Mhm.
I think that they weren't implemented as well, and that's why we didn't see as much of a continuation through them.
Yeah, we never did.
Surprisingly, we got 2 more baby Pokemon. I'm sorry, not 2. 4 more baby Pokemon in Generation 4 of all places, with Budew, Munchlax, Bonsly, and Mime Jr.
Yeah. We got 4
So-
more baby Pokemon.
Really weird kind of history to this, considering it started around here.
Yeah,
But
here's the
I
thing.
would
I
say
don't
this
think
is one of the
we haven't seen any baby Pokemon since.
yeah.
I think Nintendo's learned.
Well, I mean,
For now.
yeah. All right. My Pokemon is one that isn't seen a lot in Gold or Silver, and that was only remedied in Crystal. And it's really a shame because this Pokemon should get a lot more reputation for it, but it was really, really sad when it initially made its debut.
And that is?
Sneasel.
Sneasel.
Really? You don't like Sneasel?
So, let me explain why this Pokemon is terrible, why I hate this Pokemon. First off, in Gold and Silver, you could only catch it at the base of Mount Silver.
Mm-hmm.
Which means you have to go through the entire game just to catch this thing, and your rival already had one in his team by the time he was also running around Mount Moon.
Oh, yeah.
Which is nonsense, because you can only find them at the gate to Mount Silver, which you only get when you beat the entire challenge.
Yeah.
So it's an endgame Pokemon.
Aside from calling hacks, then they had to go ahead and make it available at the start, at an ice cave for Crystal. And you would think that by making it earlier for available, people would actually like the thing.
No.
No. Here's the problem. Remember what I said about types being split between physical and special for the purposes of all their moves?
Yeah.
Guess what type of attacks Ice and Dark were considered?
Special.
Special. This thing had a special attack stat of 35.
Oh.
It was mainly built as a physical attack hit and runner with 95 attack and 115 speed.
Oh, no.
If this dude was doing anything other than slashing or using any other moves, you were wasting your time.
Yeah.
This means even things like Ice Punch and Pursuit, which would normally be good moves on it in later games, were utterly pointless. He couldn't even use Swords Dance as special effect because he didn't get it in Gold and Silver.
There's more to this nonsense too. Fact was, heck, just talking about the Dark type in general. Dark type attacks.
Legend, we'll get to that. That's another.
That's actually our next subject.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you just want to let me finish up my complaints with Sneasel, we'll get into that next. But aside from the fact that its moveset in usage is terrible, it's kind of a weird design overall. The fact that you have this sort of bipedal, like it's supposed to be a weasel clearly, but it looks more like a bipedal imp, and the feet and the pink leaves or the pink feather things that it has going, it's just like it doesn't make any sense. Why does it need it?
I never really did get that design choice. I might look up about its etymology and stuff like that on like Bulbapedia one of these days and see.
Yeah, it just never made sense to me. And then oh my god, the shiny version.
Oh yeah, don't you have a flamboyantly gay pink Weavile?
It is hot pink with golden feathers. This poor little thing looks like it walked into RuPaul's Drag Race on accident and came out looking like that. Apologies to all my trans fans out there.
Yeah, but seriously.
But seriously, like this thing, it just looks. It was horribly mismanaged, and I pity this thing, and I wish it gotten better treatment. Even now in Generation 7, I think that Game Freak this is one of the Pokemon that Game Freak just likes to go ahead and humiliate by making it objectively terrible.
Really?
Yeah, it's kind of like with Flygon, and how like for 4 generations it didn't have Dragon Dance.
Yeah.
But that's another story entirely. So with my venting for Sneasel exhausted, how about we talk about Dark and Steel types?
Okay, so back in Generation 1, there was a type that was so powerful, so broken, despite there only being 3 Pokemon in that line, pretty much. Oh wait, 3 or 4? 4, I think.
No, you had 5. You had the Abracadabra line. You had Hypno, and you had Mr. Mime.
Oh right, 5. Right, I forgot about Hypno.
And let's not also forget about the number 1 being
Executive.
Pokemon number 150.
Oh, Exeggutor.
Mewtwo.
Oh, and Mewtwo.
And Exeggutor.
And we forgot about Exeggutor and
Mew.
Execute.
Okay, so there were quite a few, but
But they were enough to break the game. The only Pokemon that could really put a counter to them,
Don't forget Starmie. Don't forget Starmie.
and don't forget Starmie, because why not put that much speed on a broken type?
yeah. Seriously,
Now,
you got Starmie back in
the
Gen 1.
majority of them were exactly that. They were heavy hitters with with high special attack and very fast.
Not to mention that their special stat was also high enough that it was essentially also a special tank.
Yeah,
Right.
because special acted as both defense and defense and offense back in the day, pretty much.
It was so broken. It was the main reason for the special attack and defense split.
Yeah.
Not to
So
mention,
in addition to that, they had to make 2 new typings just to try and counter it.
yep,
First off is the main one to counter it, Dark type.
with Dark type was a very, very interesting addition to the Pokemon series. It was actually called the Evil type in freaking Japan, in the original Japanese.
Because fighting type was considered the hero type, or justice type in Japan.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, and the literal translation of the dark type is actually Aku, so evil, yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, dark types were seen as like the evil Pokemon, or the dark-ish Pokemon.
Dark, night, mysterious,
It-
shadowy.
It's probably the closest thing you would ever get to Pokemon Satanism.
Yeah, pretty much. And most of the Pokemon seem to have really, really bad reps.
Houndoom in particular, its burns will never heal.
And yet, I have seen plenty of comics where Houndoom is seen as not only a very loyal Pokemon, but also a very much well-beloved dog.
Umbreon isn't hated.
No, Houndoom.
I know, but I'm saying Umbreon's a dark type. He isn't hated.
Well, he's Eevee. No one hates Eevee. Except
Yeah,
for
I know.
maybe the monster
But anyway,
that Eevee becomes.
so the question is, were they any good?
Initially, I don't. Umbreon was pretty decent. It was a very good special tank.
It was a decent tank in general. It had high physical defense and high special defense.
Let's see, the other dark types that were introduced. Murkrow?
Murkrow sucked. But let's talk about the number one weirdest bullshit thing about dark types.
They're
In that,
considered special.
yes, their attacks are special. When Gen 4 came out and we finally got a true split between dark type attacks being physical and special, they actually had to add a special dark type attack because everything else was physical. Bite and Crunch were special attacks.
Then they became physical.
So was Pursuit and Feint Attack as well.
Feint Attack and Pursuit I could sort of see. Like maybe they're like diving into the shadows and like hitting them in the soul or something. I don't know.
I think Pursuit as, you're trying to get away, I'm going to pursue you.
That's what it eventually became. But I always thought it was like they were hiding in your shadow and just like it was like a what's it called from
It
Naruto.
was an anime move.
Shadowing?
The shadow stitching.
Probably, maybe.
Like Shikamaru.
Yes, that's his name. I forgot his name. It was like Shikamaru's shadow bind thing for me. Only if you moved, you got hurt.
Everyone flip your counters back down to 0 days since the last Naruto reference.
At least Shikamaru's one of the few good characters in the show.
He is.
He is.
Yeah.
Anyway. Okay.
So,
Yeah, I can see a lot of your points.
let's see, the other dark types were Houndoom.
Which was good because it was actually a speedy counter attacker that not just had good special attack but also good physical and had a fire type to rely on as well. The problem, you didn't get this until you reached Celadon City.
Yeah, so you couldn't do it for the main campaign.
And then there's Tyranitar,
Oh,
who's also a dark type.
and also,
Endgame material.
you don't get him until you're inside the Mount Silver caves.
Did they include him in Dark Cave?
No, you can only find them in base of Mount Silver.
Not even in the Dragon's Den?
Nope. No, because he wasn't a dragon type. He was rock.
Give it a... It's Gojira! Gojira the dragon!
It's a baby Gojira. He's not Gojira yet.
Oh god, I just remembered that weird show on Boomerang where Godzilla had a little baby.
Oh yeah, the Godzuki thingy.
Oh yeah,
Godzuki, that's it.
Yeah, I remember that cartoon.
What the fuck was with that?
Hey, what were you saying, Leo?
I think it was the 70s to the 80s. I don't know when it came out, but I actually used to watch that. But
I was just checking to see to make sure that it did learn Bite and Crunch. Because for some of the Pokemon, like Sneasel, I think, doesn't actually have... I think it gets maybe one or two... Because Sneasel, I think, for Dark-type attacks, it just gets
Pursuit.
Faint Attack and Beat Up.
Oh, Jesus.
So not really viable Dark attacks for it, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But I think aside from those mentions, there's only a hand. Aside from those mentions, the only other Pokemon who could use Dark type attacks were very limited because it wasn't as prolific as we would think.
Well, it was kind of like with the Fairy types in Gen 6. There weren't that many of them.
Right, and for the most part, it was restricted to a handful of Pokemon that you had to hope that they learned naturally, or you were going to have problems.
Yeah.
So there you go. Like amongst only Houndour and Tyranitar actually learn Bite naturally as Dark types.
Heck, I
The
even
rest
thinking.
of the rest of the Pokemon that learn Bite naturally are anything from Water types like Blastoise, Poison types like Arbok and Nidorina,
And Golbat.
Gyarados learns it. Feraligatr learns it. All the dogs learn it.
Anything with a decent set of fangs can learn it.
Yeah, so it's kind of awkward just to see. Sneasel can learn Bite, but only by breeding.
It's weird.
Which
And
is
Crunch
even
is the
more
better.
tedious.
And Crunch is the better move anyway.
Right. Which it can't learn, so there you go.
Yeah.
Now, I should also note that they actually invented a dual typing specifically so that dark types could actually be useful against it. There was a Pokemon called Girafarig.
Normal Psychic.
Yeah, normal Psychic. Oh, look, it's a Psychic type immune to Ghost. I guess I'll have to use a Dark type or Bug type move now. Ooh.
Or you could just brute force it.
Oh, yeah, just kind of like kick it a little bit and it would fall over.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's a giraffe, I'm pretty sure it won't be that menacing.
But it's a Psychic Giraffe. It knows that I'm going to beat it to an absolute pulp.
Seriously, the way it's designed, it looks like it should be Psychic Dark.
Or you could just get a Steel type and just laugh.
Speaking of...
Yes.
So yeah, that was the other typing, which is unique because it was the first type to actually alter existing Pokemon's typing.
Yeah, Magnemite originally was pure electric type.
And it's at this instance that it first became Electric Steel.
And oh boy, electric... Well, no, just steel in general.
Steel in general was resistant to pretty much everything except...
Fire and Earth.
Firefighting and...
ground fighting.
Yeah, firefighting and Earth. Or ground type, I mean.
Yes.
Everyone there still?
Yeah,
I'm still here.
Okay, just double checking, because...
Okay, yeah. So it's just an incredible... I was going to let you guys do commentary, but really, Steel type is the definite defensive typing.
Yeah,
There is no questions about it. When you came across a Steel type, if you did not have one of those moves on hand,
you were
in for a rough fight.
And it was also a typing that allowed older Pokemon, like Onix, to become brand new with its evolution of Steelix. And
Good God, Steelix. Nothing terrified me more. I mean, there was something familiar and reliable about Onix. Like, yeah, this would be an interesting snake, Pokemon-ish, and Brock has it. Nostalgia. It's a great-looking thing. It couldn't possibly look evil.
It got double defenses and decent attack strength now.
On top of having Steel type as its advantageous typing, as opposed to freaking Rock.
Dear God, Jasmine's Steelix was a nightmare.
It was slow, but if you did not have something to pierce its 65 special defense, you were going to have a bad time.
Thankfully, Steelix is also a ground type still.
So you could still wash it.
Yeah.
But good luck if it hit you.
Yeah, this thing was a tank, and this was before we had things like Sandstorm giving you a special defense buff.
I only think Magnemite and Steelix the only steel types, or were there any others?
Fortress.
Oh, Fortress, the bagworm.
I hated Fortress.
Fortress was a joke to me, but later on I learned of its potency.
Same here. Fortress was like, what the hell is this Pokemon?
It was actually on Koga's team.
I know. I'm like,
I have a story
Azalea
about Koga's
Town.
Well, save that
not
for
the
when we
fight.
get to the gym leader, to the Elite Four.
Oh, you mean I can't talk about the fact that I lost my level 70 for Alligator to an explosion by a freaking Fortress?
Okay.
I'll
Okay,
leave it at
I need to hear this story. Let's
You
go.
just heard it.
Oh, okay.
It was Koga.
All right. But yeah, like, even though the steel type was certainly definitive in terms of its defensiveness, there weren't too many moves for it actually.
But the few moves that it did get were very, very fascinating. Iron Tail would actually lower the defenses of whatever it hit.
Wait.
And Skarmory, don't forget Skarmory.
Oh, Skarmory.
Oh God, Wish Blitz. Skarmbliss.
Skarmbliss, yes, thank you.
Oh no.
Skarmory and Blissey. Nightmare fuel for all. Okay, so...
But, yeah. Now the problem was, what was steel type good against, guys?
Rock. And
Absolutely
ice.
Rock and
Anything
ice.
else?
It was resisted by electric and water.
It was also immune to poison.
Yeah, it was really good against poison types.
Actually, there's a bit of a funny story about that I do need to talk about in
Wait.
Gen 2.
Wait. I think poison types were actually weak to steel back in the first...
Let me check that. I'll
I
check
don't
that for
think
you guys.
so.
Go ahead and tell your story, Legend.
Okay, so poison types were not immune to... steel types were not immune to poison.
Oh, that was a later gen.
No. Steel types are immune to poison,
They're immune to poison type attacks.
but not poison type stat influences.
Yes, you could still poison it if you use Twin Needle.
Huh.
Really?
Yes, so the only Pokemon that could actually poison steel types was still Beedrill for a while, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
They would eventually make it so that steel types were completely immune to the poison status altogether
Mm-hmm.
later. But in Gen 2,
Okay.
they were still figuring it out.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, poison kind of bounced around a lot. I explained this a lot better in my poison type review.
#plug.
We've talked about Dark and Steel now. Check those fucking off the list right now.
No, because there's actually a lot more to them because they didn't really hit their stride until Generation 4.
A lot of things.
And then Generation 5 nerfed them into the ground.
Yes.
And then 6 raised them up from the heavens and said, "Fairy dwellers, beware!"
Oh, yeah.
So they actually have a lot more complex history than we're giving it credit right now. This is just the debut. This would make a good opening, but we have to move on.
Remind me, who was set to do Steel types?
Yo!
This veritable stallion.
Wait, you?
Yes?
No, it was me.
No? We'll discuss this off camera.
All right. We're not on camera.
By the way, Legend,
Alright.
when's a normal type review coming in? It's been 2 years now.
You told me to stop doing it. So shut the hell up.
Let's move on, chuckleheads. All right. So amongst the innovations that we also got the use of two very distinct sets of items. We had the development of apricot Pokeballs.
Apricorns.
Which were apricorn Pokeballs. I don't know why I said apricot because I'm hungry. Apricorn Pokeballs, which could be used to specially hunt certain Pokemon, as well as the ability to have Pokemon hold items to use in combat.
Mm-hmm.
Which one do you think was more influential?
Hold items.
Which one stuck
Hold
around?
items, definitely.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say this, hold items, because Apricorn Pokeballs were glitched in Gen 2. Every single fucking...
don't tell me this was don't tell me this was another focus energy issue.
Some of them actually had reduced chances instead of boosted chances to capture certain Pokemon.
Oh, wow.
A lot of them were fucked up. Like the Lure Ball, I believe, did not actually help.
Oh, wow.
The Moon Ball, I think, is only worked against certain Moon Pokemon, and they were very rare to find. Heavy Ball, I think, actually was just a regular Pokeball in terms of capture rate, I think. But yeah, a lot of the Apricorns the Apricorn-type Pokeballs were just completely and utterly wrecked in the first generation.
Mind if I play devil's advocate?
Go ahead.
This was the generation that introduced situational type Pokeballs. Granted, they didn't work.
Yes.
I will go ahead and say, yes, they did not work, and they were a pain to get in bulk, so yes, they were a pain.
They took a whole day to just get one.
But
Correct.
this was the birth of what would eventually be perfected in 3 and onwards to 4, 5, and 6 in the birth of the Timer Ball, which would eventually come out in 3.
Yeah.
Which is very useful.
The Dusk Ball.
The Dusk Ball and the Quick Ball would come out in 4, but this was based on the original idea that you don't just have to buy better balls that have a higher percentage chance. You can buy balls that have a higher percentage chance in certain situations.
Timer Balls were godsends against fights like Rayquaza in Gen 3.
Or the Reggies.
God damn the Reggies.
So yeah, and I would say that while it is true that they did not work, the idea would eventually spread.
Although I will admit, I do kind of like the lore that Apricorns were like supposed to be the first kind of Pokeballs back in the day. Like that's what they were originally, the original
They're
Pokeball.
the prototype Pokeball.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with Legend on that, and I think that they are more interesting, especially because they led to the development of our newer high-tech ultra special balls.
But I will also say that the hold items were the only one of the two concepts that worked consistently.
Yeah. What do you guys think?
I was in the Apricorn camp originally, so I still hold my previous statement.
Akari?
I said I'm going for hold items.
I can see the appeal of hold items, but one of the things that kind of did bother me about it was that most of the time you would end up using your regular hold-up items, like say the charcoal or the miracle seed or things like that. We did not have a wide array of the choice bands, life orb stuff that we had later in later games.
Well, yes. They just introduced it.
And one of the things about that system in particular is the fact that for healing items like berries and leftovers, it was also very much time dependent. It was a bear to have to go gather all the different berries just to prepare for items.
And there was only one leftovers in the game, if I recall right.
Though, consider this. Leftovers as a mechanic.
Yeah.
You could suddenly turn a tanky Pokemon into an even tankier Pokemon that could actually mitigate some of the effects of poison.
It's kind of how I beat Red in my first go.
So it had a lot more it introduced a lot more strategy to battling. While I'll go ahead and argue for hold items on the basis of Though the ball concept expanded the lore of the world and introduced the concept that we could have new Pokeballs, the hold items revolutionized battle strategy.
Yeah, but playing devil's advocate also, that battle strategy was stall. which made for very poor viewing and often led to very frustrating low intensity battles. More often than not, trainers were going to abuse things such as rest talk and PowerPoint drain sets rather than actual fighting.
Oh, shut up! You loved fighting my stall teams.
I do, because I have hyper offense to counter them with, which did not exist in that generation.
No, but still.
Which we wouldn't get until Generation 3 because of the advent of choice items.
Though I would also say that back in the day, it was actually possible to run stall as opposed to a hyper-offensive team, and there was more variety to the strategy.
Right. But then you have a proliferation boomerang effect, and now we're just arguing in circles.
Yes. Let's move along.
All right.
Let's move along. All right. This one should be a little bit more upbeat. Let's talk about the Pokewatch.
Akari, why don't you lead us on this one, if you'd like?
As the leading, I would say, leading expert of Appleware.
Pokewatch? Don't you mean Pokegear?
Oh yeah, the Pokegear. I'm sorry. I think they changed. I'm thinking.
It's always been the Pokegear. Yeah.
But still, it's essentially the Apple Watch before the Apple Watch.
I like how it does a lot of things to help around your way, like get you your contacts in case you need advice or you need to send something, or I like a map to know okay, where the hell am I going?
Yeah.
And just the fact you can get almost everybody's number in this fucking game is just ridiculous.
Just don't get Joey's.
I avoided Joey.
I'd like to talk to you about my Rattata. It's in the top percentage of Rattata.
Shut up and go to hell.
And of course the radio.
Do 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 do. Of course, that wasn't the only song. Oh, sorry.
What'd you say?
No, he was just singing.
Ah, okay.
Derp.
It's very hard to tell. Like once one of us starts talking, it becomes very difficult to actually hear you guys through the speaker.
Yeah.
Well, then you guys need to not speak so loud.
We're talking at normal volume.
I don't think we are. But anyway, that's another point. I kind of as what it would eventually be in terms of later games, I think it was fine.
Yeah,
my main issue with it, though, is the fact that not exactly the most intuitive device used. There's a lot of age going on in it.
Yeah, it was kind of like one of those weird little gizmo watches you would get at Radio Shack back in the day.
Yes,
but
that would exactly be it.
But if we're going to talk about innovations, I would say the Pokewatch has been, or Poketch, Pokegear, whatever you want to call it, has been repeated and innovated more than any other device in the history of Pokemon.
And then it eventually just fused back into the Pokedex in Gen 6. Gen 7, I mean.
Which is also an innovation.
Yeah. A Rotom Pokedex that does all your shenanigans.
Yep.
So...
Oh no, are you getting bored?
No.
Quick, somebody ask him about his favorite gym leader.
Alright.
What's your favorite gym leader?
Oh, fucking Christ.
This one. You got caught with your pants down on this one, Zero.
Shut up. Thing is, I have two, kind of, but one of them is
Johto only.
I know it's Johto only, you twit. They're both Johto only, and I'm like, one of them I both like and hate at the same time. Fuck it, I'm just going to go with that one, Claire.
Alright, I'm surprised to hear your answers, Claire.
I like dragon types. Sue me.
Well, I'm willing to see a lot there too. Claire, much like Whitney, denies giving you the badge and makes you work for it.
Legend, we're going to get to that. We're going to get to that.
Yes, we
Quit
will.
jumping the gun.
But I will go ahead and give you that her team is pretty well rounded. Anyway,
And her fucking dragon breath paralyzing my entire team. Missing Will's not law number 1.
so why is she your favorite? Just because of the dragons?
I kind of like the fact that I like the kind of flaming aesthetic of her gym.
Ah, yes.
And yeah, I like her team. It was the first time I ever saw Kingdra.
Yes, and it was cool.
I was
And we
like,
actually had a decent dragon type move in the form of Dragon Breath.
yeah. Yeah, dragons didn't just have Twister back in the day.
Well, no,
that.
did we have Twister back in the day? I thought that was a Gen 2 move as well.
Well, what I remember is that dragon types had a Saki move pool back in the day.
Like,
all they had was Dragon Rage, at least I recall.
did they also have Twister? Fuck, I don't know. I'll look that
Good
up.
luck.
Oh, God. I did a dragon type review. Why don't I remember this shit?
Because it was years ago and we've had a lot happening.
Not to mention, I think at least 2 generations have happened since that video.
Yes, they have.
Two.
Oh dear
You
God
feel-
Almighty.
Yeah, Twister was introduced in Generation 2.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Okay, but yeah, a lot of dragon type moves were introduced in Generation 2 and made them a lot more viable. There were a slightly few more dragons, and all in all, I just liked Claire's gym, and I did kind of like her design.
No denying that there's a lot of fan art of her.
Oh, good lord, don't.
All right,
You're
so
not wrong.
Leo, why don't you go ahead and give your favorite gym leader?
Okay. My favorite gym leader is, I believe let me go ahead and bring up my notes here. Because I got so close. Oh, yeah. My favorite Pokemon is, my gym leader is, Morty.
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 That was
I
actually my
think
second
Morty-
choice, to be honest.
I think Morty is the battle that I always look forward to playing that game. I consider it the true. I consider him like the true challenge in terms of being a midway gym leader. He has a very competitive team with his ghost types, and his use of curse is actually really interesting because initially I saw the move being used and it's, oh great, you're killing yourself for me, and then I start seeing that a quarter of my health gets taken every turn.
Oh shit.
Oh shit, it's exactly what I thought. And even though Shadow Ball is not the powerhouse as it was today, considering ghost types were physical attacks,
Yeah.
and that all of the ghosts were special attackers, it was, the main threat was coming from the curses and hypnosis, not actually from physical attacks.
And God help you if you got hit with a hypnosis and then a 3-meter off of a Gengar.
Well, he also had Mean Look on some of his Pokemon too.
So you could be stuck there.
As,
Being forced
murdered.
to watch the Pokemon die.
yeah, as he first would do curse, and then hypnose you, and then eat your dreams. So you were
Yeah.
writhing in pain as your nightmares were being engulfed, and your body whittling away, your life energy draining.
Not to mention that all that damage would go back to him as health.
Yeah.
So,
Correct the Mundo.
He would recover from the curse.
Correct the Mundo.
So no,
Alright.
in short, I think Morty was one of the first examples of strategy from a gym leader.
Akari, what about you?
Mine's to be. I guess this one because it always switches, but what I remember off the top of my head, I think my favorite when I first played was probably Price.
Price.
Really?
Price, the ice
Yeah,
gym leader.
I liked him. He felt like a wise old sage of sorts.
In the comics, he was evil.
He was the
Then
best.
again,
man.
I still got that vibe from him when I first played it, and I don't know. I like his design, but I'm not gonna make any ice pun because if I do, I'll probably just be sounding like Schwarzenegger.
Wonderful.
Yeah, chill out.
Go in the corner.
Make me.
Chill
Well,
out,
down, both of
bird
you.
boy.
I'm not a bird boy.
Okay. Legend?
Me. Let me see.
Favorite gym leader.
Was there anyone that I looked forward to fighting, or who didn't utterly thrash me in some manner or form? I'm gonna say Chuck.
Norris.
No, there was no Norris.
Yes!
He is not nearly as badass as Chuck Norris.
No.
The reason why I am laughing my ass off about Chuck is because of his introduction.
He takes one of the boulders that you need to use strength to move.
And in a feat of truly impressive strength, he goes ahead and chucks that son of a bitch at least 15 feet into the air and lands it on a statue.
To which it immediately disintegrates.
And then he turns around and goes, "Oh, right, we were supposed to battle. Sorry about that." Not to mention, this guy is married. He runs the... He's actually... I forget what his connection was to the medicine.
I don't know.
But I think he's
I
actually
don't think
related...
I don't think he has one in the game. He might have one in the anime.
Might have one in the anime. I don't recall, but I thought there was some kind of connection between him and the pharmaceuticals.
Not that I'm aware of.
Not that I'm aware of. But yeah, it was a very, very fantastic time. And it was the first time, I should note, that I really started using Ghost-type Pokemon. I got a Ghastly from level 5 to level 30.
Fighting Chuck.
Fighting all the gym trainers because none of them could actually hit my Ghastly. I was laughing my ass off.
Did your sister help you evolve into a Gengar?
She didn't have the game.
Ah.
So it was a hilarious time for me. And seeing my Ghastly become a Haunter in the space of a couple of battles was a truly special moment. His gym is my favorite just because of that memory of finally discovering the wonderfulness of ghost types after getting my ass thrashed by Morty.
By the way, if you beat him, his wife says, "Oh good, you beat him. He's going to start exercising again. He was getting a little chubby."
And there's that. He's married. My God. This guy was married and his wife is a snarker.
Yeah, and you know what? I think in this generation we start to realize that the gym leaders kind of did sort of have a life outside of the gym.
Yeah,
Well,
that's true.
they do better jobs of representing that. We see that a lot in Gen 4 and Gen 5.
Especially Gen 5. But this is the first time that in the games they actually seem to have professions outside of the battling circle.
Well, I think Brock actually, even in the Gold Games, was security guard for the museum.
I think so.
I
No, I don't
remember
know.
that being a thing. I might be remembering from the anime again, but that's what I certainly remember. And then we have Lieutenant Surge being former military, Blaine with his research, etc., etc.
Yeah.
We'll have to see.
Yeah.
All right,
that's true.
I get you.
That covers all the main bases. And
ne-
so we come to what I think is the most controversial question in the entire lineup. And I chose this one specifically because I think I can tell which two it was going to come down to. And that question is, who is the more annoying Johto gym leader?
Whitney or Claire?
It's way too easy. Way too easy.
Claire definitely wins a lot of points for having a typing that has a crap ton of resistances to a lot of mainstay types, as well as the usage of an evasion set on her most powerful Pokemon.
Double team. Double team. Dragon Breath.
Which paralyzed your Pokemon.
Twister.
Which flinched your Pokemon.
So she was using para-flinching tactics.
On top of evasion.
Yep.
But to argue against that as devil's advocate, Whitney, for where she's at in the game, is bullshit. Her rollout Miltank is the stuff of nightmares. I have seen demonic depictions of her in many, many different types of art. And that Miltank is definitely the worst. As Chicken Conroy once said, it will drink out of its own udder to keep itself alive.
I do not want to go into the sexual jokes I have in my head right now. Just thinking about that.
Yeah, just move on. But go ahead, Akari.
I was gonna say my opinion with it. I say, yeah, Claire. I mean, Whitney's legendary, but once I think I became more aware of what she was like. I mean, I just blazed right through her. But Claire just those fucking dragons, especially with its Kingdra, having served Dragon Breath, Smokescreen, and Hyper Beam.
Oh, that's right, Smokescreen. It wasn't Double Team. It was Smokesceen.
I think she changed it to Hyper Beam.
That and Hyper Beam.
Oh, Hyper Beam.
Especially Dragon Breath.
Ugh.
Oh, good lord. Yeah, and those Dragonairs.
Yeah, not to mention the fact that Whitney is upset that she lost.
But she gets
Well,
over
at least
it.
when you talk to her again, she gives you the badge.
Claire is a petty-ass bitch.
She's like, guys, yeah, you beat me. You're not getting it yet. You gotta do this fucking test first, then you'll get it.
And she's like, he won't be able to do it because only my clan could do that.
Well, at the first one is just go grab a dragon scale, which is like making you go through another dungeon just to get the item. In Crystal, they make you go through a multiple guess questionnaire and say basically, do you have pure heart?
Yeah.
But there is one thing that does make Claire a little better in terms of how do I put this? When you've gone to the trouble of trying to crack open that Brazil nut, and you finally get the point where you can crack it open in one shot, you enjoy eating it up. After having gone through all the trials, after having gone through the bullshit of not getting the badge immediately after you beat Claire, you get to watch the elders chew her out and threaten her by tattling on her to Lance.
Oh my god.
That is glorious.
Speaking of Lance, we skipped over one of our questionnaires.
Yeah, we did. We're talking about the build-up from completing the gym leaders, the Elite Four.
No one asked me whether or not I cared.
Do you care?
Yes, I do care.
Yeah.
Alright, what are your thoughts on the whole kit and caboodle?
Well, I would have said something if you hadn't taken my thunder.
Well, shoot.
Go ahead, man.
Here's your thunder back, sir.
No, because everyone has said already what I think of it is that between the two, aside from Claire being the harder boss fight, her pettiness involving the trial of the Dragon's Den is much more annoying. And even though you do get the comeuppance of a extreme speed Dratini in Crystal and just getting the badge overall, between the two, I think Claire is arguably the more annoying of the pair.
I've actually died more to Claire than I have to Whitney. I can actually count that.
And I recently just played through Whitney's boss fight in Diamond and Pearl. Not Diamond and Pearl, sorry. Gold in Gold, and I can say for a fact that part of the I would say that Claire is to Sabrina, while Whitney is to Misty. Both of them are tough in their own ways, but Sabrina and Claire are the upper echelon compared to Misty and Whitney.
Yeah, if you have the right typing.
They can be countered.
But
Claire is much harder to Claire and Sabrina are much.
Yeah, they're much more difficult to deal with.
Yes, so that's my opinion on that.
I can see that. That makes a bit of sense. Although I've actually had Bugsy was almost like Misty to me.
Well, it also depends on your team composition and your ability to handle.
Only mainly whenever I chose Chikorita.
So it will depend, but I think overall the majority consensus is that that is how that would sparse out.
Mm-hmm.
and so that's how we would feel about it.
All right then. So
All right.
let's go ahead and break down the four gym leaders and the champion.
Elite
Really?
Four and the champion.
The Elite Four and the champion. I'm sorry.
Okay, so first
So-
off is Will the Psychic User.
Will, who are you? Where did you come from? Where will you go? What are you?
He's a magician.
Tuxedo mask without the hat.
Tuxedo mask.
I didn't even
He's
realize
supposed-
that was a mask on his face till much
I
later.
think he's supposed to be a stage magician, but he comes off as a ponce. Seriously, this dude is kind of like a joke as far as I'm concerned. Like, compared to Lorelei, this dude has nothing on her. Three of his Pokemon are weak to electric type attacks, and the Jinx that he has on his team couldn't be any less threatening.
Yeah, that's true.
I should probably also say, the number, if you were to say, give him a signature type of Pokemon or a signature Pokemon on his team, could you name it off the top of your head?
Yeah, Xatu.
Xatu!
Yeah.
Xatus! Psychic
Xatu.
flying bird weirdos.
Aren't they supposed to be based off of like Aztec depictions of birds or something?
I think they're big
Yes,
about
they are.
totem poles.
Totem poles.
It's a combination of Native American totem poles and I think Native Indian garb.
Yeah. It's supposed to be kind of like totem pole and like Navajo or something. Fuck if I know.
Just say Native American, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
But yes,
There was one thing that did kind of freak me out whenever I did go up against Will, though. And that was that most of his Pokemon did, in fact, know Psychic.
Yeah.
Oh, God, did that actually hit hard.
Yeah, I'm looking right now. All 5 of them did know Psychic, so you're dead on with that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
And especially if you were just coming off of Gen 1 and having you would be having Sabrina flashbacks.
Mhm.
yeah, but I think that they're not so bad because all the Pokemon, with the exception of Xatus, are kind of slow.
Yeah, so
And even if the Xatus can be downed by electric attacks relatively quickly, if you have anything that can use Thunderbolt. So it's not even like that bad of a fight comparably, I think.
remind me to put an electric type on my team for silver.
Jolteon is certainly a very viable one.
I was planning on doing Umbreon.
I think you can still make it work with Ampharos.
You could.
Yeah.
Though Ampharos is equally slow.
Well, Ampharos is equally so, but it's bulky enough that it can take hits.
That is
So
also
in
true.
the end, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Anyone else have any comments on Will aside from the fact that he looks like a poser?
Mm.
Nah, really. I swear to God, when he looks, he almost reminds me of a pre-adolescent Joker from Persona 5.
Kind of. He does have that kind of design to him too.
He
Yeah.
does.
He was
And now
actually
we're going with this.
he was actually one of Price's minions in the anime. Not in the anime, in the manga.
Manga. Yeah.
Yeah, so
And
he actually got a bit
Yeah.
more backstory to him in that, at least.
Yeah. Let's move on to the next member then, Koga.
yeah, we
Koga.
all know Koga from the first gen.
Yeah.
Though now no longer a gym leader, he is an Elite Four member. And he's packing heat.
Oh god.
I think the biggest inclusions to his team are Ariados, Fortress, and Crobat.
Oh, Crobat.
Yeah,
Which-
in the first game, it was weird. He was a mix of both poison and psychic a bit.
Well, no, he was more Poison Bug.
Yeah.
Because he had his main one was Venomoth, actually.
Especially in yellow.
Although
Ooh.
thank,
Oh my God.
Fuck that Venomoth in yellow.
But in
no. The one that pissed me off was the coughing, the wheezings. The wheezings were annoying to me.
though
Because those were basically grenades that he could toss at your team.
Yeah.
pretty much whatever was facing off against that thing would basically be gone after an explosion.
Yeah. So.
I really... And he still has Muck, which is very specially tanky. So it's still going to be quite a fight, but I found it, as a Typhlosion user, pretty easy.
But I was a Feraligatr user. So when I
So how
came
was
up
that?
against that Fortress,
Boom.
ooh, I lost my gator to that bastard.
You're kind of wishing that damp was a thing.
I didn't know about abilities back then because they didn't exist.
I know.
Right.
But yeah, Fortress was a monstrously defensive wall. And its ability to set up spikes that damaged my Pokemon every time they stepped onto the field, the fact that it would explode for massive damage and kill off one of my team members, it was a nightmare for me. And it would weaken me enough that I couldn't actually beat the Elite Four for a while until I was around level 70 and was able to one-shot it with Hydro Pump.
Doing the old classic grind till you're over-leveled.
Pretty much, yeah.
Grind and make it work.
Grind and make it work.
Yep.
Okay.
Kind of what I did in Gen 4.
Akari, any other insights?
I'm gonna be honest here. When I played, I never really had much to do with Gen 2 Elite 4.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
But I just like listening to you guys how you dealt with yours.
Okay.
All right, fair enough. Well,
All right,
next one
next
is
one
a blast from the past, the only returning member of the Elite Four from last generation.
With one other
Bruno.
exception. Bruno!
Okay, so let me say this about Bruno. I'm happy that he has more fighting types.
Yes.
Because taking down 2 Onyxes at this stage of the game is kind of a joke.
Yeah, because they finally introduced Hitmontop as well.
Hitmontop was brutal, too.
He had 3 Hitmon Pokemon and a Machamp to round out his team. Which, if he
Pretty
didn't
solid
have,
lineup, I would say.
yeah, if he didn't have,
He had 2 Machamps, actually.
oh, he had 2 Machamps.
I
No,
think.
I know it's the 3 Hitmons, the Onyx, and the Machamp. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, remember we're looking at.
Oh, he
Gold
still
and
had
Silver.
the Onyx, right. He still had at least 1 Onyx, because that was
Yes.
his thing.
Yes, but honestly, like he was. By this point, you know, I had Psychic type on my team, either Lugia or Espeon in my case. So, GG.
Yeah.
GG.
Because none of even though Hitmontop was actually the best out of the 3 for special defensively, he could not do anything against speedy, powerful Psychic type still.
Yeah.
There was a reason the fighting type gym in Saffron City had to close down when Sabrina rolled into town.
Yeah.
Yeah. I still swear that Bruno is related to Brock in some manner. I will swear up and down these halls that he must
That
be
he-
related somehow
To relate it to who?
to Brock.
I don't think so.
Oh, look at the eyes.
You know, we can all have our fan cannons.
You know, it's just occurred to me. Gen 2 actually had a repeat of typing in its generation. It had both a fighting type gym leader and a fighting type Elite Four member.
True.
We usually don't get that kind of repeat anymore.
We don't get that type of repeat anymore. Ever.
Yeah.
Except in Gen 3 in the Emerald version.
Yeah, but that's another story.
Yeah.
Yep.
Last of the Elite Four is Karen,
The
another
most
person I
notable
was like, who?
Probably the most notable of the Johto Elite Four because of her defeat quote.
It is a very, very poignant and telling defeat pose.
Let's see.
But
Strong Pokemon, weak Pokemon. That is only the selfish perception of people. Truly skilled trainers should try to win with their favorites. I like your style. You understand what's important. Go on. The champion awaits.
not to mention that her sultry smile stirred the hearts of many.
Do you think that that's why Silver was eventually able to level his Crobat because Karen gave him a good talking to?
I don't know. She was
Never know.
kind of interesting. There weren't many Dark-type Pokemon back in the day, so two of her team members were a Gengar and a Vileplume. Fuck that Vileplume, by the way.
Which
Yes.
actually made her the most balanced team member out of the Elite Four, including the champion.
Yeah, but again, fuck that Vileplume because it knew Moonlight.
When when you are a fire user, it is good to be king.
Shut the fuck up. Even my ice punches weren't doing enough against that beefy tank of a Rafflesia.
Legend, you got anything to say on her?
I think I've said a lot about her with regard to just the poignancy of her battle poke. Actually, was brought up again when Pachirisu took the world,
Yeah.
and to this day, I think Karen has balanced out the competitive edge for Pokemon and kept it alive in the hearts of many. You don't have to be competitive in order to love Pokemon.
Just go with your favorites.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and talk about the champion then.
What's with these familiar faces in this lineup?
I think Game Freak wanted to use Lance just because, like, I think they had stories to tell, but they couldn't do that in the first generation's rigid storyline. That's kind of the reason why Lance kind of just shows up during the Team Rocket crisis.
So he goes from Kanto Elite Four leader to Johto champion. How did that happen?
We'll get to that.
Champion
We'll get to that. But Lance, let me say something very quickly. If it wasn't for the fact that Rock Slide got incredibly nerfed in its distribution in Gen 2, you would have gotten swept.
3 Dragonites, all level 40. Let's see, level 47, 47, and 50.
Dragonites. He has a Gyarados. He has a Aerodactyl, and he has a Charizard.
Actually, he has 3 Dragonite.
I was saying that.
6 flying weaknesses in a row.
Yeah.
He was about to be the Scorpions because he was going to get rocked like a hurricane.
Oh, yeah.
But all of them knew Hyper Beam.
But it got patched. It's actually patched now. Because in Generation 1, if you killed off of a Hyper Beam, you got no delay.
Oh.
In Generation 1, that was the glitch on Hyper Beam. In Generation 2, they fixed it.
And
So
yeah, all 3 of his
whether
Dragonites.
you killed or you missed, you have to take a recharge.
All 3 of his Dragonites have actually different movesets. The first one actually has Blizzard. The second one has Thunder. And the final one, instead of having Twister, has Safeguard and has Fire Blast.
This guy had 3 Dragonite that all had a different TM top move just so he could screw with you and make you wonder, oh crap, which Dragonite is this?
Yeah, is this the one with the Blizzard? Is this the... Oh, by the way, instead of... The first 2 had Twister, Thunder Wave, and Hyper Beam. So, but the last one had Safeguard, Outrage, and Hyper Beam.
Oh yeah, they added Outrage in this game.
Yes, they did.
It did I think it had like 90 base damage.
Yeah, oh, and the Gyarados had Flail.
Because my sudowoodo nightmares weren't over yet.
Let's see, and the Aerodactyl had Rock Slide, Ancient Power, Wing Attack, and Hyper Beam.
Oh yeah, and can we also say that Lance is a cheating motherfucker?
Yeah, because all 3
Yes, he is.
Dragonites are under level for evolution. They should all be at least level 55.
Well, so was Faulkner with his level 9 Pidgeotto.
Yeah, what the fuck, guys?
And you couldn't even find those in the wild. It wasn't even as justifiable as in Generation 1.
Yeah, so bullshit.
Shaking my head back and forth in disgust.
To be fair, those are allegedly his dad's Pokemon, so we shouldn't be really blaming Faulkner as much as his dad.
His father must have come from Kanto,
Yeah.
where the birds grow large and plentiful.
And annoying as fuck. Anyway, so those are all those guys.
All right.
Now from Elite Four and Champion to Rivals.
Yes. So this one actually is a little bit different because in Gold and Silver you had your rival who the community has called Silver because of the game differences.
Yeah.
But we also got in Crystal a secondary rival by the name of Usin.
who is a
Who-
fucking Suicune fanboy, even more than me.
Well, yes.
Given the-
However, so since this is the first instance of dual rivals, I wanted to ask the question more about which one you liked more. And if you only have experience with one, then you speak to your experience with one.
Akari, you go first.
I will say I like Silver a lot. I mean, probably out of all the rivals in the series, he's probably the most fleshed out. I mean, angsty, pissed off, hates everyone. Basically, he wants to be the best because. Should I go into spoiler territory?
That's Heart Gold and Soul Silver. That's
Okay,
not
never
our
mind.
territory.
Okay.
Not
Basically,
our territory.
because
Well, actually, you can say it, but just know that it's for Heart Gold and Soul Silver.
I don't want to give it to.
Well, technically, it
but-
came out in Fire Red and Leaf Green. Technically,
Really?
yeah. One of the Sevi Islands actually had a Team Rocket base that showed that Giovanni had a red-haired boy as a son in a photo.
Oh, I never got to the Sevi Islands.
So yeah, so basically,
Go for it.
He is Giovanni's kid. And he wants to get out of the shadow, but basically, I like how he goes from being this snot-nosed jerk off to being actually a decent person, unlike Blue.
Yeah,
Well,
more character
yeah.
development than Gary
More
motherfucking
so
Oak.
than Blue. I mean,
yeah,
Blue,
more so.
It's just that Blue learned too late.
Yeah, I can see that.
There's one thing that was also present in Silver that I don't think we've ever gotten in a rival to this day.
And that is?
Moral ambiguity.
Oh yeah, because he did steal his Pokemon.
He stole his
Yes, he
Pokemon.
did.
It's implied that he abused them. Every single trainer that he's ever fought, he crushed. Except for you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you and I think it also implies Lance.
Yeah.
Yes. But there was that feeling. You weren't just fighting him because he was in your way. You were fighting him because you wanted to prove him wrong.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And eventually you do. And
He
epic.
learns from it too.
He learns from it. But can you imagine the dark path he could have traveled if he had never fought you?
It would have become another Giovanni.
He would have become worse.
Much
Giovanni treats everything with just a cold indifference. Silver would have been a tyrant.
Yeah, you kind of got a point there, I think.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Hmm?
For that reason, I kind of like Usain more.
Oh,
Because
Really?
Silver is, to put it lightly, is a whiny emo kid who grew up before emo kids existed. And really, I think Usain goes more towards the competitiveness of catching legendary Pokemon, and not in an obsessive way. He actually challenges you for the right to find Suicune.
Hmm.
And he has his own team, which I think is actually kind of unique in that he doesn't follow sort of the rival thing, which we would later see when what's his name, the sick kid from Ruby Sapphire
Wally.
Emerald. Wally, yeah, we would see that later on with Wally, but Usain did it first to an extent. The fact that we didn't see his signature as much as we did with Wally, it's a slightly different story, but it is still something to note.
What the hell was Usain's signature? I've actually forgotten.
I think it was supposed to be like Voltorb or something. Let me look up his team. He had a really unusual, unorthodox team, which is also another thing.
That's one thing that does bother me about Usain personally. If I could.
Yeah. His signature Pokemon was an Electrode. His team was a Drowsy and a Haunter.
What the hell?
That is a lousy team.
Well, to be fair, like that's the point, is that he's supposed to be another random trainer. But
Except-
unlike the themed trainers who you see later on, he's just another dude.
Okay.
Though that does bother me a little bit in that he doesn't have a signature Pokemon.
He
Like,
does. It just so happens that, well, keep in mind that his design is actually supposed to be based off of Suicune.
it is.
But,
But-
I think the point here is that he's supposed to be exactly that. He's supposed to be another dude. He's not your predetermined rival who you will swear. No, he's just another dude who's after the same goal as you. And I think that makes him more admirable than Silver will ever be.
Huh.
And as I stated before, most of the backstory we find out about Silver comes later games to justify his existence. As it stands within Gold, Silver, and Crystal continuity, he's just an emo kid.
True, but he's the emo kid we remember. I forgot Yucine even existed.
Well, maybe that's just a different. I'll just let that be agree to disagree.
I like
Zero,
both.
what about you?
I kind of like both, but for kind of different reasons. I like the kind of character development of Silver, but again, I also kind of like the fanaticism of Yucine for Suicune. Like, he's a researcher. He's kind of like a prototype legend hunter of sorts. He's hunting his own legendary, in the matter of speaking. And I can kind of admire that.
Though,
Yeah, I would agree.
though I also couldn't help in later years imagining Suicune running away screaming in Poke Speech, bad touch, bad touch, bad touch. I don't know, this guy.
Well, apparently his hometown is Celadon City, for Yucine.
No wonder he. Oh my god! I am now going to switch my allegiance.
Okay, Legend, what did you just realize?
Where was one of the few, if only, places you could catch Muck and Grimer, and
In Celadon City's waterway.
yeah, in his polluted town's waterway. And he's looking for Suicune, who's said to be able to purify any water he touches.
Oh my god.
I am switching my allegiances and giving Yucine a little bit of applause.
I don't think it says anything about that, but
I think that's anime only. But fuck it, if it works, it works.
It
That's a good
does.
Puka theory.
I'm going with that fan theory. Let's see. He was told stories about Suicune by his grandfather, who was very knowledgeable about Johto folklore. Despite this, Yucine never mentions the bell tower or Ho-Oh in these games, nor his hometown stated to be Celadon City. But we do find him there later on. So, weird. Alright, guys. You still there with me?
Yep,
Yep.
we're still here.
Just making sure, because it was a little quiet there.
Yeah, we're letting you say we're letting you and Legend have your moment.
Alright, so...
Right. Next thing on here. So, why don't we talk about Team Rocket making an appearance again?
Team Rocket making a comeback after allegedly 3 years.
Okay, so here's my thing about this, is that my biggest issue with Team Rocket is that we don't have a head honcho to look at. In Generation 1, we had Giovanni, and we fought him several times.
Yeah.
And in Yellow, we even got the appearance of Jesse and James just to go ahead and make the continuity whole.
Which was pretty cool.
But in Generation 2, the Rocket admins, who you only saw in the, what's it called? The, Cianwood?
No, it was the Goldenrod Tower.
No. I know Goldenrod Tower, but the one by the Lake of Rage.
Oh, Mahogany Town.
Yeah,
Mahogany Town base, and of course the Goldenrod Radio Tower takeover. And even then, within those games where you see the uniquely sprited admins, they're just called admins. They don't actually have names or personality. You don't see them over and over again. One of the things that really that made going through the Rocket stuff in Generation 1 was hearing about this organization doing all this nonsense in Mountain Moon with the Nugget Bridge. And then eventually you come across their gaming parlor, and then you actually meet with the head honcho and have to fight him. And from that point onward, you know that wherever you go, this head honcho is going to be there. As you see when you go to Silphco.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they
And
tried
so
to
having
take
this
it over and
image-
steal stuff.
Yeah, so having this image of Giovanni as the made man of Team Rocket made any encounter with them much more thrilling because it meant you would have to face him at the end. You didn't have that in Generation 2.
No, you did not.
Hell,
And even though you had arguably more heinous crimes, whereas in Generation 1 it was fossil taking, racketeering, gang recruitment, and in Generation 2 you had forced evolution, the taking of Slowbro tails, and eventually the tower takeover. It really didn't feel the same because you were lacking that figurehead.
yeah, because
And eventually in Gen 4 we actually did get names for these folks. But I think their impact was a little too late because then they had to come up with, like, who are these people and why are they wanting to bring back a old mafia essentially? In my personal opinion, Neo Team Rocket, or NTR as I want to start calling them now, just is not as good as the originals.
Yeah, and I'll say this, even in the Heart Gold and Soul Silver remakes, when they actually did give like faces to the admins, pretty much.
Yeah.
I don't remember any of their names anyway.
No, I don't.
Yeah, I don't either. I just know that I think one of them is supposed to be like a reference to Silver's mom, and it is not his mom. It's just a reference to it.
Yeah, there's a redhead, there's a blue-haired guy, and then there's a purple-haired guy.
There's the purple-haired dude with the goatee.
Yeah, and in the manga, he's actually the purple-haired guy is a bit more charismatic and more interesting because in the manga he actually uses like face clay to like change his face and identity all the time to do stuff.
He actually does that in the remake version when you go see him in Goldenrod Tower.
Oh,
the
okay.
conversation you had with him, he actually changes his face and his voice to convince you that he's the chairman before revealing his true persona.
Oh yeah, now I remember. Yeah, so that's where they got it for the manga.
Yeah, so they do that, but I think it's
Petrol's his name. That's his name.
Yeah, they just do it too little, too late for I think everyone's liking.
Yeah, like he's the only one I remember. I don't remember the other two's name. Petrol's the only one I remember because of that kind of characteristic of his.
Right.
This would be the
Legend
reason
of
why.
Curry, do you have any comments?
Hey.
Not much. I kind of agree with the whole thing. I felt like that Team Rocket and Gold and Silver were kind of like the weak links in the game because they're just not as memorable. I mean, obviously when they did the remakes, they actually made it better, but in the original, they're just kind of, they're just kind of there.
They put them in there with the intent of saying, well, we have to have a team, and so they came up with this 3 years plot. And I think that after seeing that, that did not go as well as we thought, they made an effort to make the teams memorable, and this leads to Magma and Aqua.
Yep, where they fixed all the problems, and they even made
them more intimidating and turned them into eco-terrorists.
Well, I think that now we kind of look at them as kind of like jokes, considering the difference in teams. But at the time, I think that they were considered a step up from Neo Team Rocket.
And I would say they still are.
Also, the organization actually is supposed to be called Neo Team Rocket to differentiate itself from the Generation 1, which means that their initials are NTR.
Which is weird. Anyway.
So, let's move to our next little bitty.
Alright.
The biggest surprise of this game.
The second...
Yeah, the biggest surprise of this game, which is for spoilers for anyone who hasn't played it already, you get to go back to Kanto.
Thank you, Satoru Iwata, for bringing in the entire first generation back into the game.
This was a real treat for me. Again, I talked about the fact that I had never really beaten Generation 1 of Pokemon. So when I got to Kanto, and I saw the Indigo League and remembered my distant dreams of ever actually seeing it in Generation 1, When I got to Kanto and I started being able to explore all the territories I could never see past those damn Snorlax, ooh, my heart soared.
Not to mention the fact that basically you could go in any order you wanted to any gym leader this time.
Pretty much.
Except for like the final one. You basically had to go through everyone else. And then you got to see which gym leaders stayed, which ones changed, because some of them did change. Because,
I mean, Koga was no longer in his gym.
so his daughter took the place.
My God, that freaking that gym was horrible.
That was an amazing mix-up to the gym, I must say.
Like,
Even now, it still gets me.
all invisible walls, like, she's not the one in the middle. She's the one slightly leaning to the left.
Spoilers.
True. But yeah, so just you got to go back through Kanto. You got to go ahead and rebattle the gym leaders. You got to go recatch Pokemon, see places that have changed. It's actually really incredible. So, my main question is, who is your favorite gym leader to refight?
To refight.
From of the Kanto gym leaders, who was? And I will go ahead and allow you to say the eighth option as well, even though you're not well, technically you are fighting him because he actually uses most of the same team from from his earlier battles. So you can use the gym leader as well. So whoever you want to use for the Johto gym leaders, pick your favorite and say why.
I wouldn't say the 8th's my favorite, although I did really love refighting Misty and Brock and showing off that they weren't, that basically they're saying, oh, you beat all of Johto. Try me out now.
Rock using water types? Holy shit.
Well, to be fair, it was to sort of give him back that he has a connection to the Pewter City Museum.
Yeah, the fossil Pokemon.
Him using fossil Pokemon is actually a really good call.
Mm-hmm. Also, I'm remembering the Pokemon Origins anime where, like, oh, you have this many badges? Then I'll use this team.
These
Correct.
two.
Yeah, I really like the idea, like, oh, we don't just have these weak-ass Pokemon. We're
scaling them to your challenge level.
Yeah, we're scaling. You have how many badges? Okay, this team it is.
I can. You got most of the badges. Great. I can just kick your ass. I don't have to hold back anymore. I don't have to hold back anymore.
Face the fury. I love that idea. I love that concept from the Origins anime, and I love it. Works so well.
It does.
Legend. Do you have a particular gym leader you liked fighting again for the second time?
Well, it was simultaneously one of the best encounters as well as one of the most tragic encounters for me. Fighting the sole survivor from Cinnabar Island.
Blaine.
Cinnabar Island erupts, and Blaine is the last person alive, and he's only continuing to, well, serve as a gym leader out of memory to those who passed.
It's not actually stated that people die from the eruption, but
He's
he does go ahead.
One that I meet that I know is from Cinnabar Island.
And he's stationed on the Seafoam Islands now, which have been remodeled.
Right. They actually inhabited Seafoam Islands just to do the gym challenge.
Well, if he was able to get some people out, great, but I don't know. There was just something poignant about walking into the room, seeing Blaine on the other end, and just shaking my head in disbelief that this is what has happened in the last 3 years.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, to be honest.
But poignant, too. And I like poignant.
Alright. Akari?
Oh, God. I gotta say this one's probably not only my favorite of this lineup, but it's probably my favorite gym leader battle ever, and I gotta go I gotta go with Blue.
Blue.
Just the fact that he has changed a lot since then. And plus the fact that he's the only gym leader to not have a specific typing. That's what makes him a good challenge. You don't stick to one Pokemon. You can change it up, make it more. Use your other Pokemon besides the one that can take everything out.
It requires you to have a balanced team in a sense.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's why I say Blue's probably my favorite because of that reason. And plus,
or just overpowered.
Oh yeah.
It's a good question because I've been thinking about this the entire time, and I honestly can't think of one that I like the most. I know I don't like Erica's because I think Erica still is too easy. You still have to deal with the electric switches for Surge.
No, they're deactivated for Surge, I think.
What about
they're
finding out that
deactivated?
someone
Okay.
actually has a
I
boyfriend?
must be misremembering. You do have to do the floating puzzle for Sabrina.
The teleport puzzle, yeah.
Though I think the solution is still the same.
Leo, what did
Yes.
you think about finding out that Misty has a boyfriend?
I think that that little side quest was rather cute. And I remember that more than I do the actual boss fight with Misty.
Yeah.
If I have to give it to anyone, though, I would have to say Janie.
Janie,
Just
definitely.
because of the fact that because you see Koga in the Elite Four, and you're making your travels to Kanto, or you see Koga and Johto, and then you come to Kanto, and then you have the realization: wait, if he's over there, and I'm here, then who's running the gym? And then you go in and you see the gimmick for Jane's gym, and it's like, oh.
Oh.
Naruto
Clever,
reference.
That is clever. Not only does it enhance upon the prior gimmick of the invisible walls, but now you have ninja mimicry going on here.
So,
Which is brilliant.
Which is brilliant. The boss battle isn't anything to go home about. It's virtually identical to the fighting Koga, just with higher levels.
yeah.
But I think that I like hers the most because most of the gyms either have the same gimmick or get rid of it, have the same gimmick, like with Erica or Sabrina, or they get rid of their gimmick, like with Blaine.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Blaine and Blue's gym had nothing in it originally.
Right. So really, just to see that Janie improved on her father's ideas, I think that makes her my favorite gym leader out of the bunch because, and like I said, I still got tricked with it. But even when I play the remakes,
Yeah.
that she's not in the center.
Yeah.
So I think that out of the fact that you have that innovation there, I think my vote has to go to Janie on this one.
Mm-hmm.
And I can definitely agree with you that she has absolutely the funniest gimmick out of all of the different gym leaders.
Yeah.
Well, with that, it's time to go and talk about the final question for this podcast. And I just have to start off with
It's
this.
not really as much of a question, but it's more just like an impressions.
Well, I gotta start off with this.
Okay.
Dun-dun, 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 dun-dun.
It's like a freaking round.
Yeah.
I just got chills just hearing that. I just got chills just thinking about it.
So we were wondering that if Lance is the champion, and Blue, aka Gary, is a gym leader, what the fuck happened to our player character?
And at the very top of Mount Silver, after having reached the ability to reach it,
After gaining all 16 badges, at the very tippy top, after going through some of the hardest monsters around in this game,
there he is. And you do battle with him.
Original self.
yep,
And the first thing he busts out is a monstrously overleveled Pikachu.
level 80.
Holy shit.
That is his highest level Pokemon, by the way. The rest of them are about 70 or so.
Dude.
Am I the only one that thinks this boss fight is completely meta?
It is.
It is.
It was
Basically,
meant
you're
to be.
fighting your previous self. That's what it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, it is by far the ultimate end game, the end game boss fight. Not only because you're fighting your prior self in a game, but more importantly, it requires you to have stupidly high level Pokemon.
It
No
was a true
Pokemon
final
challenge can I think of in any of the generations requires you to be level 80 to successfully attempt it.
And to think, I remember that this originally was supposed to be the end. This was it. Originally, this was supposed to be the end of the series.
Really?
Yeah, it was confirmed. The original creator himself said, "Yeah, I was planning that Gold and Silver was going to be the end tie."
Jesus
But it got
Christ.
so massive. They decided, yes, let's continue it anyway. Let's do it.
Level 81 Pikachu. Level 73...
Level 73 Espeon, level 75 Snorlax.
And level 77 Venusaur, Charizard, and Blastoise.
May I go ahead and say something?
I gotta say that Red has probably one of my favorite teams of any boss fight in a series.
Mm-hmm.
It just they said just that music from Gen 1 that sends chills, knowing that you're fighting the most epic fight of all.
Mm-hmm. All right, Legend, what did you want to say?
Well, it's just a little trivia fact. Until Cynthia came around, no trainer was ever able to raise their Pokemon's levels as monstrously high as Red did. And I should also note that they actually raised the Pikachu in Heart Gold and Soul Silver.
Oh god, I need to check this.
Yeah, I'm checking this right now, Zero, don't worry.
88!
Yeah, they jacked it up.
All the Pokemon's levels are... Instead of an Espeon, he has a Lapras at level 80.
Well, to match with the Ash iteration of Red.
Yeah.
But either way, even then, they had to bump it up to practically 90s.
And here's why. Red's Pikachu was supposed to be, and now still is to this day, if I am not completely mistaken, the single most powerful Pokemon in terms of level that any in-game trainer ever had.
Yep, that's very true. And it holds a Light Ball in Soul Silver. Heart Gold and Soul Silver, it holds a Light Ball and knows Volt Tackle.
God help us all.
Iron Tail, Quick Attack, and Thunderbolt.
But just talking about Gen 2.
Yep, just talking about Gen 2. It had Charm, Quick Attack, Thunderbolt, and Thunder. Espeon had Mudslap, Swift, Reflect, and Psychic.
That Psychic was murder.
That Snorlax had Amnesia, Rest, Snore, and Body Slam.
That Body Slam was murder.
The Venusaur had Sunny Day, Giga Drain, Synthesis, and Solar Beam.
That Solar Beam combo was murder.
And if it used Sunny Day for Charizard, it would have Flamethrower, Fire Spin, boosted by the sun.
I never
In
got
addition, it also had Wing Attack and Slash.
Mm-hmm. And
And
then
Blastoise had, oh my god,
Rain Dance.
Whirlpool, Blizzard, Surf, and Rain Dance.
By the way, everyone,
Yeah?
even though Red and Blue canonically make appearances in Sun and Moon, because you only fight them in the battle tree, you don't actually know what their true levels are, considering it simulates them down to level 50.
Oh, shoot.
The first possible... Actually, in the first possible battle that you have with Red, because you can actually battle either one of them before going to fight them as a battle tree boss.
Mm-hmm.
In the first possible battle with Red, he has a level 70 Pikachu, 66 Charizard, Blastoise, and Venusaur, and level 65 Lapras and Snorlax. So they're actually leveled down a little bit for Sun and Moon.
Oh my god.
That's their true battle.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Jesus Christ.
And yet, if I were to put this in my top 10 of favorite battles of Pokemon, this honestly would not be the top one. This
Really?
would be like number 2.
What's your number 1?
And
Oh,
Black and White.
Oh, and yeah.
I mean, N has a lot of more, I think, plot reasons for his battle. And so I think that he's in a very different league.
Oh, he's definitely. I would like to see a match between Red and N. That would be cool.
That would be very interesting. I think that in terms of like the most, I think in terms of just memorable end game challenges, just getting up to this guy is a feat. Actually beating him is another story entirely. And remember that this is still in the time in which this is that in the original game, the original design was to have Oak be your final challenge, and he use a team comprising of the Pokemon that was left behind.
Huh, I guess they kind of...
Which they eventually used for fighting Kukui
in Sun and Moon.
in Generation 7.
Spoilers, by the way.
Sorry. But honestly, like, before him, really, this was what we were looking at in terms of an end-game, like, challenge. I don't think anything, even considering everything from the new generations, will match the amount of nostalgia. Well, barring Red and Blue's appearances of Battle Tree, nothing tops this appearance.
Yeah. The only way I think Nintendo could ever top this is for the game they do on the Switch. They bring back every generation.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of people still hoping for a free world Pokemon game.
And some ROM hackers who've actually tried to make one.
Yeah, but
Right?
Pretty
Nintendo,
much.
I don't know if you're listening to this or not. If you are, my God, thank you. But what I truly desire for on the Switch is a Pokemon game that brings us every single generation's land to travel and explore, refight all the gym leaders from the weirdest ones to the most memorable. Just re-traveling through every single land. Let that be in the new Switch game that you're making.
Mm-hmm.
And if not, do it in the next one. God damn it.
Yeah, we really need it.
Yeah.
Alright,
I'd
go
like
ahead,
to,
Zero.
if you don't mind, I'd like to wrap up my thoughts on the whole Gen 2 to begin with and why it was so special.
Go ahead.
It brought a lot to the table that we hadn't really seen in the Pokemon games before. A mythos, ruins the idea that there was a history behind everything. It brought in new elements of strategy, understanding of, different Pokemon types in general. It brought to life the idea that Pokemon were actual living creatures that could interbreed with each other. And most importantly of all, to me, it introduced the idea that it was a world that was growing too. Like, 3 years had passed and things changed. That was the coolest thing. A true sequel to its first counterpart.
Mm-hmm.
Which we would rarely, if ever, see again until we got Black and White 2. And as we know,
That game wasn't exactly the best.
it wanted to be, but it didn't.
I'm not saying Black and White 2 is a bad game. Far from it.
But there's a reason I haven't picked it up again in years.
Well, I think that would be a conversation for another time.
Yeah.
Let's end.
This was a really good thing. I think if we get a chance to, since we've kind of already missed Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, we might have to do at the next anniversary of Ruby and Sapphire. We might have to do a podcast for that.
Oh my god.
Because I will tell you, regardless of what comes out on the Switch, the next remake that we're due for, gentlemen, is Diamond and Pearl.
Yep. And
So we're
that's
technically a game behind.
yeah, and Diamond and Pearl. That is the game that I became friends with Leo and Legend. My best friends for over 10 years. My only friends at that.
Hey, now.
You
did
have
expand
other
it.
friends.
Hey, young man.
I'm talking about the fact that before that, I had no one.
Now,
Pokemon was a game that I played to keep myself entertained. I always wanted to do stuff with other people with Pokemon, but I never got the chance to. I never got the chance to trade or do battles with anyone for the...
until we met each other.
Exactly. The first time I traded was with you guys, and that was a really special moment for me. So, thank you for that.
Of course.
Mm-hmm. But
With that in mind, does anyone else have any closing thoughts on Gold and Silver?
I've already given mine.
All right.
I just say if it wasn't for this, we probably wouldn't have the amazing line that we have up to this point.
Yeah.
And I want to say, creators of Pokemon, thank you for keeping this franchise going.
mm-hmm.
Because not only would I met my current best friend in the world, Muzi, and the love of my life, Yami, I wouldn't have met Bray as well.
Right. I personally think that these series, I think that prior to doing this, I didn't give Gold and Silver a lot of thought because by the time I joined Pokemon fandom, I was already saying that they were planning on doing Gold and Silver. So I kind of didn't see it as for granted how much effort really took into making this experience. And looking back on it, there is a lot of content packed into this. And I think that in terms of the amount of, like, when we say, like, post-campaign, when we talk about things like Diamond, Pearl, Black and White, even Oris, nothing, I think, will match post-campaign content quite like Gold and Silver will.
Yep.
And that you have an entire other region to go to and to go basically grind on to try and do the challenge. And even then after that, you still have arguably one of the greatest, not just challenges in Pokemon history, but in video game history as a whole. And it ends with an incredible battle that really is memorable and timeless in its simplicity and deep in its meaning.
Gold, Silver, and Crystal were the games that I probably played the most of any Pokemon game. I was a lonely kid growing up. I had like one friend who turned out to be a complete fucking asshole and abandoned me. And Pokemon was the game that I always went to calm down, relax, and just forget myself and just let the world envelop me. Whenever I played the game, I honestly felt like I was part of that adventure. I honestly felt like I was the main character during that. Gold, Silver, and Crystal were one of the games that basically sparked my imagination the most, that allowed me to create things and draw things and basically express myself in ways I never thought I could back in the day. It was pretty much one of the cornerstones of my childhood. There's no other way to put it. It's part of my childhood and it's part of me forever, and I want to keep that memory alive and make sure everyone for future generations knows that and tries to share that cornerstone with everyone I can.
Alright.
I
You got a lot on your chest there.
Yeah, I do. That game kind of is me for the most part. So,
Alrighty then.
Alright then.
got a little heavy there, sorry.
Oh my goodness.
I think I touched my eyes again after cutting onions.
Did I seriously bring a tear to your eye?
You gotta watch out for those onion
No,
ringes.
I didn't clean my hands after cutting some onions.
Sure you didn't.
Anyway, I think that covers it for this Pokecast.
Yep.
This is Leo Force.
This is Death Zero.
This is Akari.
And this is Legend Hunters signing out.
See you
And
guys.
here's to many more years.
See you
Thank
guys.
you guys for listening.
See you guys later. Dang it.
We will never let it end!
Yo!
We have to. Bye, guys.
Bye.